Shinso Sasageyo. My friends, we're here. This is it. This is the ending of the endings. Attack on Titan. The final chapters review. The definitive one you have, I'm sure, been waiting for. I can't believe we're here. It's crazy. We started this podcast years ago at this stage. I could really ramble on and on about how far we've come and the milestones we've crossed. But I'm not going to do that right now. I think maybe, we'll get nostalgic and, all melancholy about it towards the end of the year. Maybe when we do like our top 5 episode or something like that. But this is, sincerely a huge episode. This is it. This is the main course. This is what we've been waiting for. I really want to give a big shout out to the Comic Book Shop at 128 Bank Street in Ottawa. Find them at thecomicbookshop.com or on Instagram at comicbookshopbank. They spell shop SHOPPE. They've been sponsoring us for coming up on a year now, supporting the show, bringing us to your ears. If you like what you're listening to, if you've been a fan of our show, chances are you'd be a fan of their store. They've obviously got comics, but they've got manga, figurines, they've got magic cards, they've got plush toys, Gundam build kits, other kinds of build kits. If you're into this, you'll be into them. God, I could ramble forever, but, well, you've seen how long the show is, so we already did that. We get in depth, obviously, spoiler warning, we're talking about the ending of one of the biggest anime on the planet, and, considering it crashed every streaming service it was hosted on, I don't think that's hyperbole. So, for the last time, get ready, and here we go. Attack on Titan. Oh, hey there, Grant.
Hello, David.
Are you ready to give your heart one last time?
The final battle is here. Always.
We're here. I can't believe it, my guy. We made it.
It doesn't feel real. Like, it really doesn't.
This is it's surreal that we made it, that we watched it, that we're here talking about it. I'm sure I will have done, or the audience will have heard the intro, but this is it, man. This is maybe, I don't want to rule anything out. Who knows? We might do a rewatch episode at some point, or maybe like a series retrospective at some point. But this feels like the pinnacle. This feels like the peak of Everest.
Yeah, we might not even come back next week. Who knows? Like, stick around and see. If we're back next week, then we decided to stick with it. But no.
This could be it. We started the podcast for Attack on Titan when we thought they were doing their last season. I don't know, 13 seasons ago, and we're finally here. We made it. Delays and leaks and studio changes aside, we're here. I think we're thrilled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I made.
I feel good. Do you feel good?
I feel great, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe we could talk about spoilers later. I mean, obviously, the one thing I'll say, this is your one and only warning.
Sure.
And, take note of the title of the podcast you're listening to. We're going to talk about the ending of Attack on Titan, the finale, the Lost Chapters, Part 2. I'm not going to make any more jokes about the naming that they've gone with. But, this is it, okay? The entire ending we're going to discuss. So, maybe let's start here, Grant. When did you watch it? Who'd you watch it with? Where were you? Was it relatively close to the release date? How'd that go?
So, obviously, with Leanna, attempted Saturday night, could not get that to work. So we ended up having to watch it Sunday morning.
Damn.
But not under great circumstances. Not great circumstances, but baby nap time. Like, knew it was 84 minutes. Like, all right, let's just hope we get a full 2-hour nap.
Yeah,
today and
squeeze it in kind of thing.
It was a lot of squeaking. There was a lot of squawking. That first 30 minutes was definitely on edge of fucking go to sleep. But he eventually settled down, and we were able to hammer right through the rest of it. How about you?
I saw it release night, Saturday night. I think it came out 8 p.m.
Yeah.
I had had a feeling because we saw Crunchyroll crash a ton throughout season 4.
Yeah.
And I just had a feeling. And so I didn't play myself. I think I made a good call where, I was playing Halo at the time anyway.
Sure.
And so I just, in a tab on my PC, I was just like, all right, I'll just go to Crunchyroll and just see if it even loads. You know what I mean? And it was 8:45, 8:50 by the time Crunchyroll would actually load. And then even by then, I was like, okay, well, can I even get to the video?
Sure.
And then does it even start playing? And only when like it successfully started playback was like, I was like, okay, I'll stop Halo, I'll get up, I'll go to the couch. So it was probably past 9 p.m. by the time I turned it on. But
I had
no spoilers.
I attempted at 10. Yeah, I had reattempted at 10 and still couldn't get it. I was like, you know what? Tomorrow. Yeah, I was like, tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow, that would drive me nuts.
So it was jammed up. It was just, I just like, put it aside. I was like, don't worry about it. And that's the thing too, like, couldn't watch Free Ren, couldn't watch, like rewatch Jujutsu Kaisen. There's just all this stuff I could have done. I was like, well, Crunchyroll is just like off the board this weekend.
Yeah.
Or at least that night. But,
that's shitty, eh?
It is.
Any major spoilers going in for you?
No, I'm very, very, very lucky.
Well done.
AOT was pretty much scot-free, I think. At least in season 4 regard, yeah.
Attaboy.
You? I think you and Leanna had some back and forth. I think too. You kind of sussed out a couple sneaky spoilers. Online.
Yeah, the timing of mine wasn't too bad. I saw a manga panel of Mikasa, like in the pivotal frame here towards the end, like committing murder. And I don't know why I'm afraid to say it, but you know what I mean. But I saw the look on her face and the sword in her hand as a manga panel. And the look on her face, they animated it really well in the anime. And I think it's directly, obviously, out of the manga because it was like months and months ago that I saw that. But, between you and I, we had talked about it. We had theory crafted a bit. I'd obviously spent a lot of time thinking about how will this go. And I think like Mikasa being the one to deal the death blow was like at the top of probably a lot of people's prediction lists.
I think so, yeah.
So that didn't bum me out too much, and it wasn't even confirmation, right? It was just a look on her face that I was like, oh fuck, that's probably it. But as we have discussed, and I think we've discussed it on the pod, Eren dying kind of felt like a foregone conclusion. You never know, but it felt probable, and I think, to me at least, I'll speak for myself, the question marks were like, but what about everything else? What happens with the rumbling? What about, in particular, I think I was really drawn to the Ymir storyline and Eren's free will or lack thereof. Like, I wanted to know his side of the story, right? Did he have agency? And we're going to talk about all that. But, like, all those were the biggest things for me, and they were nowhere near spoiled. So,
sure.
Awesome. I'll take it as a W.
Yeah, seriously, because you and I were very delicate, a lot of tiptoeing over the years, like just
dude,
like had no interest, like, and it was out there. There was a lot of like just foul, like thread jumping, just people just assassinating the fans, and like, oh, here, this and that, dodged all that. Very, very lucky. So
yeah, there's an angry subreddit called Titan Folk. It's similar to there's something folk about
the free folk,
for they're Game of Thrones haters, right? And they've been around for a while, and, we were active in some subreddit discussions, and obviously, like, we have a podcast that we founded based on how much we like Attack on Titan, and we were pretty brazen and open about, like, oh, we've never read the manga, please don't spoil us. So, like, we got pretty lucky. I think we got a couple messages maybe at one point, but I sussed it out pretty early. I was like, oh, no, this feels like bait. Someone's going to hide a spoiler in here, so I didn't even read them. But, no, man, we danced between the raindrops on that shit.
Yeah.
So we made
successful. We got there.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So let's just start in general. How do you feel now that it's over? What is your general feeling about the ending?
I loved it. I thought, it was one of those moments where, if there's one thing that was kind of affecting the finale for me, is there, again, I think, and it might be similar to you, is there was so much talk of like the manga fans hated it. Everyone's gonna hate it. Like, like it was like one fan base, and like the manga fans and the anime onlys, and it was just very vague. It was kind of like it was like the opposite of like, oh, this is the art. Like how we got the Shibuya arc right now, Jujutsu Kaisen, everyone's like hyping it up to all end, like this is the one. Like,
Yeah.
it was just this. There's just this vague, dark corner of the room of like, you guys are gonna hate it. It's gonna suck. Like, wait till you get there. Like we know better, and you just get to the end, and I think everyone, I think a majority of the anime only fans of AOT or the viewers is like, that was what you're upset about.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like this moment of like, man, like why did I was flinching for no reason, so that was not that it took like the air out of the situation, but you were, it felt like as the moments were coming to close, you're kind of just like, okay, it's done, and it was just like kind of like, oh, like I maybe I should just focused more like on the little details of kind of like what's like this big thing that everyone's gonna hate, but I think that was like the only thing that kind of affected my viewing
For sure.
But again, it was so hyperbolic. Like, it was like the penultimate moment of like, it's here,
Yeah.
and waiting for that reaction, and I just never got it. And I was like, oh, cool, okay, so this is gonna be awesome to rewatch and
Yeah.
take it apart. But yeah, how about you?
I loved it. I'm really sincerely happy, and I had so much trepidation about this. I'm so hesitant. I couldn't have said it better myself, with regards to the anime or the manga, that vocal minority that has really been kind of poisoning the larger fan base. Yeah, with this whole like, oh, just you wait and see type shit. That's pretty, that's just kind of part and parcel with internet culture, I guess. But
sure.
We're going to talk about, I think, a section. We'll do a whole little roundup on the internet's reaction and the controversy therein. But like, and this is what I kept thinking about when I later on went to read reactions and the community, like to see how the community was reacting. I was like, some people here are disagreeing with each other and with me, but like, without the internet, you know what I mean? And just sitting watching this thing on my couch end after at least 5 years of my life spending watching it, and I know for a lot of people it's a lot longer. Mm-hmm. It's probably more than that, but I'm sitting here. I broke the streak, dude. I cried. Yeah. I cried fucking hard. I mean, hard for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. I didn't have like one or two man tears dribble down. I wept at moments.
I had misty eyes for probably like 30 minutes on.
Yeah,
and just the whole time. It's like, fuck, man, we're here,
And like, I do this thing, so I think sometimes I'm in my own head too much. I think a lot of people are like that, right? They're like, oh God, don't cry. But sometimes I'm like, no, like let something touch you, David. Yeah, and then I think I get in my own head and then I don't cry. And with this, I was like, no, dude, let this shit fucking hit you like a human being. Pretend you can feel for a minute. And it did, and like it really, I don't know. I think like Attack on Titan just holds like such a place for us, as anime fans, and for me as like what they have done, Isayama has done, is so different, and I really feel like he pulled it off. I sincerely do.
I think there's no questioning that. I genuinely think that. I think that's a general consensus now, which is a good feeling.
Yeah, there are nitpicks, and we're gonna get in them.
Yes, yeah.
But like, in the fullness of time, I think about what's on the list of quote like goated anime. Like, for a lot of people, for me, obviously, it's like Full Metal Alchemist, and it's like this couldn't be more different from that. But like, it would be truly shocking to me if in 5 years Attack on Titan isn't in like that goated discussion. I think it belongs in that discussion.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going nowhere. You know what I mean? Like these criticisms that people do have about it, or the nitpicks, or, oh, that didn't quite work for me. Like that's all well and good, but like the story, its execution, the message, like it's just, I think it's too good to not be a part of those discussions. It really is just too good.
It's in my all time. It's probably now. I think it's my all time.
Yeah, dude.
Because that was like a big thing. We were waiting for the ending, right? Like, not saying the ending could like, bump it down from like 1 to like 16 or something like that. Like that was never going to happen. But like, even like your own personal feelings, like you want to know, like to call it your number one, you want to see it to like have that full package.
Yeah.
And it's all neatly wrapped up now. You know, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I'm so happy because that was like our worry for like a long time. Like just land the plane,
Land the plane.
The plane. Season 4 was so amazing in its own right. You know, parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They all had their own unique quality. The journey you and I went on with that show, and you know, maybe like we have some attachment because we started the podcast, and you know, we were watching it together, you know, as friends, and you know, it was this new journey that we went on. And but still, I think even that aside, like, you know, season 4 was so unique in so many ways, and season 3 and 2 and 1, like they all had their own thing. You know, it's truly up top there.
Like when we started covering it, the show changed what it was about more than halfway through. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they changed the whole show, and it just worked. I don't know, man. Like, okay, we got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
let's maybe start with some of our like favorite parts of just, you know, whatever happened on screen. Like, how about like favorite moments?
Sure.
You know, maybe I'll get us going here, Grant.
Yep.
There is... Oh, God, now I'm blanking. Wait, I've got it right here. Just the first, I think, 25 minutes are literally nonstop. No breaks. You know, they weren't bullshitting. Neither were the fans who were talking about, oh, it's going to be one of the most, you know, ambitious things done on screen. It's like, okay, I get it. It did look fantastic. I don't think it was the most groundbreaking thing I've ever seen. Spoiler alert.
No,
it was great action. Mm-hmm. Heavy CG, but definitely finished CG compared to what they've done before.
Sure.
But it worked. Like, it was incredibly fun. I loved like Reiner, like going kind of full wrestler and fucking people up.
Yeah, there was one drop kick at one point. I laughed out loud. It was so funny. Like,
yeah. I mean, the first twist, and then I'll hand it over to you, is like, again, in maybe the first, I don't know, 10 minutes, is Piak going, yeah, I'm not really Aaron's friend, so I'm not going to sit around and talk about this. Peace. Yeah. And she just goes, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, we're in the end game. Like, I'm going to act like it is. She's such a great character. Oh, my God.
Really fun character. Had some really great moments throughout. What do you got? Some other favorite moments?
Other favorites, you know, I'm sure this is on your list, so maybe we can kind of jump into it now. But there's the animator who's done all the famous Levi scenes.
Yeah,
clearly coming back. It was like Wit Studio hopped onto screen for like
1 minute,
30 seconds.
Yeah,
if that, you know, and just like, you know, Levi kind of making his way down, like, you know,
it's the ending
like
sequence.
One of the ending sequences, yeah.
He clears the path for Mikasa. Like, they kind of work together in that moment, and you always realize, like, they were both such a force, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And ugh,
it was just like, oh shit! I was like, boom, that's like season 3, that's season 2, that's season 1. You know, it was just like all those famous moments. It was straight up. It had to, like, the animation was just not Mappa. Like, I know it was and all that, but like, it was like, oh, this is someone's like signature look being brought back to the screen, and it looked different from everything else. There was a lot of varying animation styles, but I think seems to be, you know, like we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Jujutsu Kaisen. There's that one episode where it felt like there was like 4 different animation styles, and you know, Mappa, I think, unlike other studios, like if you compare it to Wit or, you know, Madhouse or, you know, some of there seems to be less of a cohesive look. It seems to be like everyone's style tends to blend in, and, you know, it's kind of all muddled together.
I think we read that was like about like they were contracting out a lot because they were having resourcing issues as far as Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 goes.
But and I kind of felt that in this, but it also felt like a greatest hits thing where like probably a lot of people came back to work on it. You know, like at the very least this one animator who's, you know, like the Kenny and Levi fight, the Beast Titan, like all like the major Levi stuff. This one animator came back and directed those scenes, so I love that. How about back to you? What else do you love,
dude? Fucking the Hawkeye Ant-Man moment, Annie throwing Mikasa. That was dope.
Yeah. It was, again, a callback to like season 1 of like, you know, Annie running amok in the forest, right? And like replicating that scene for good. I was just so funny.
There are a lot of callbacks. I have a few, and like it's, well, we'll get into them in like the cool/favorite details section, but like God, there's probably so many more. You know what I mean? The rewatch value on the ending, I think, is going to be really high, especially given, you know, the context of like these lore bombs they drop on us. I think like rewatching season 1 even, and all the way through is going to like really recontextualize shit.
Yeah, this is gotta do a rewatch soon. Like,
Yeah.
it's I've had Attack on Titan on the mind. Again, obviously, it just came out. And I've been thinking about it, but it's like I think now is the time. While this is like super new and fresh, just to jump back in, you know, one a night kind of thing. And just,
Yeah, I can't. I've been thinking about it nonstop too.
yeah, so good.
You got any others?
Yeah, when all the well, this is kind of like a backdoor. It's kind of two moments in one. But when Armin goes to the paths and just his back and forth with Zeke was just two characters I didn't realize I needed to have, you know, some, you know, back and forth was those two.
They do a good job, just to interject, at
good.
setting up that scene because Zeke greets him as Aaron's friend. And I think the viewer, you're supposed to be like, oh, they've never met. Like, they've never had a conversation. And then, go ahead.
You know, and just that, like, them sitting down and, you know, Armin has the leaf and then, you know, the shot of Zeke seeing a baseball instead of a leaf. And I was just like, you know, you're just like fucking convulsing on the couch. I'm like, this is fucking peak anime, you know, like.
And also,
so good.
So I had that was fucking awesome. The leaf and the baseball, I love that. But the conversation that precedes it really sets the tone, and it's Zeke going on this monologue about the meaning of life, right? And what's the point? It's just, the point is to multiply, right? Yeah. It's just this thing that is just meant to survive. And you see, like, you know, that little clip of that, what we call people call the hallucigenia, that, you know, that big centipede spine looking thing that Ymir touched. And we see that. And then, you know, towards the end of the special, we see it again. And it's like, it really does look like an kind of like something you'd see almost under a microscope, like desperately looking for life, you know, clinging to some.
It looks like a parasite.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought, like, after Zeke kind of talking about, like, it's the point is simply to multiply, right? And he has this line about, like, yeah, but would it be so bad to lose? Like, the whole point of being born is that you eventually die. But that's so great because later Armin pulls up the leaf. And they have that beautiful conversation of, like, it's these seemingly insignificant moments that maybe make life important. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think Armin had a great line. There's so many great lines in this. And he says something like, I felt like maybe I was born just to run up that hill with Eren and Mikasa. And also, there's so many details about this shit. Like, of course, he goes, Eren, of course, starts the race the second he suggests it, so he gets a head start. So and then Armin obviously loses, and Mikasa intentionally lagging behind, right? It's like, even as children, it's like those dynamics are all absolutely there. Yeah, God, really good.
There's I guess like my second part of that is when they kind of come free of the paths and all the various Titan shifters from history kind of come out of the woodwork to kind of, you know, come to their defense and work with the heroes. And it was a lot of fun. It was like kind of like half gaggy, you know, like silly Titan shifters, and then like more serious cool ones, and, you know, the various armors and the carts and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was just a fun kind of like Easter egg type scene.
I was curious about your thoughts on that, because I have to be honest, in the moment I had that under nitpicks. I was like, this is making it a little cartoony that there's so many. But then later I was like, you know, later on, also via the paths, the current kind of dead generation of Titan shifters, they come back to help, right? And they kind of regain their free will to help the scouts and everybody fight Eren. And you're like, okay, well, they have set a lot of precedent here. Like, they have made it very clear that every Eldian is connected through the paths, and they're in a place where time and space and death doesn't really exist. So, like, it kind of works. It's just like, to your point, in the moment, I was like, this is kind of goofy. Like, here's a good example, which I don't know if it's a nitpick or a complaint or just a neat, like the Okapi thing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what are we doing here? But it's also one of the few funny moments of the special.
Yeah, there's a couple other. I think that the Okapi one, and then obviously like the reveal of like how some of the Titans looked. I think the scene between Armin and Aaron, like the big reveal moment of
Yeah.
like, like the I'm an idiot moment. There's a lot of like in there that probably excuse me. One of my biggest nitpicks in the episode is their dialogue in that scene. Like I know
Yeah.
it's like such a huge reveal, but it felt very stunted and like not. It just didn't flow back and forth between the two of them. Like and
Yeah.
not even like the transition from like age and zone and the kind of areas where they were. Just like the whole back and forth the two is just kind of like I said stunted, but. And that's interesting too. Like that's like a lot of like the manga fans like, oh, that's like one of the most important scene because a lot more was added in this scene with the anime to make all of it make a little more sense. And I think that's just kind of a shame because it didn't flow all that nicely. So I can only imagine what it's like in the manga. But
Yeah, the manga, I know a bit about that. I'm wondering, should we break all that down now? That is kind of like the fucking heart of the special.
yes,
Um,
that's where everyone's kind of like the shit. It's the true shift in the story and like everything kind of. It's like the aha moment.
Yeah, so he technically, we see there's two incredibly important scenes, right? There's Aaron with Mikasa in the paths, in this at the cabin, and then there's him and Armin kind of, from looking like children and walking like all over the earth, where Aaron explains
It's like a Christmas Carol.
Like, explaining what's going to happen. So we see him go with these two characters. I think Mikasa's shown first.
Yes.
Right?
Uh.
Oh no, she is. Because I know what happens. So okay, maybe want to break that down first. Because
let's do it.
these are the two big ones, right?
Yes.
So, well, I'll set it up and I'll throw it to you. So we see them. I think it's such a heartbreaking line. The voice actor for Mikasa, by the way, just overdrive. And Aaron to everybody, man. But Mikasa, fuck, she killed me this one. This is in the final battle. And there's some really beautiful dialogue throughout. And she keeps having these headaches, and they're getting worse as the final battle is like reaching its climax. And she has this line of, I want to go back. I want to go back to our home. And that's when we shift to the scene in the paths. And it's Aaron, short hair, kind of very handsome, and her isolated at a log cabin. One thing that I'll note that I noticed later, because there's a lot to digest here, but I think maybe just a fun couple of details is, and this has never been the case for their relationship, is that Aaron is kind of the alpha in this scene together. If you think about it, Mikasa's kind of sitting, comfy on the chair. Aaron's chopping firewood. He's talking about, I just caught some huge fish. No worries. Everything's good. He looks a little buffer than usual.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, Aaron, I think, and I have a lot of thoughts that I feel good about on this, but I'm not going to take all the airtime, I promise. But I think he set this up. Like, he showed her this, right? And I think that, like, part of this version for him was that, like, he was kind of the guy. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of the best version of himself, maybe. But then also, it was kind of maybe, I think, what he thinks may have happened. But anyway, so how did you feel about that whole scene? How did you interpret it? What are your thoughts? And then we'll get into the Armin stuff.
Okay, so is that scene not have actually happened? Like, he just, as, because
there are a few interpretations, to be fair, and I don't want to shut you down or anyone down, but I have my interpretation, and then, who knows what the reality is.
Because I think the big thing, right, is we get, I think we kind of got to sidestep for just a moment. It's like the reveal is, the founding stuff happened, Zeke and Aaron came together, Ymir, that whole thing. We found out Aaron's been like hopping around time, playing, like, pushing people on, like, I think the biggest thing too is like with the realization that he was the one who was like gave Erwin the zealotry, or like just like the push, like the go because he saw the result of what it is and whatnot. But is this scene with Mikasa not a moment that he took like aside like he did with Armin? You know, like where they have that moment where they kind of meet up. Like, you know, I'll see it. Like the line is, you know,
And
you know, I'll see you in hell. You know, this
Yeah.
is the moment before or whatever. So was this not Aaron's way? In my opinion, is this not Aaron's way of like being able to be with Mikasa outside? And so she gets all these memories after. Like, I think this actually happened, and she just gets these memories along with Armin when everything ends.
I see what you mean.
No?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So maybe my interpretation is that because he has like it's tricky because they did a good job threading the needle on how much they showed of us Aaron in the past, right? Like
Sure.
we don't see everything that he saw. We see what he's choosing to show the audience and what he's choosing to show Armin and Mikasa, and we know that like, you know, everybody else kind of gets their memories back too as well. My thought, because there's a really, really key piece of dialogue, I think, that in his conversation with Armin, and Armin had says like, wait, but didn't you kill them all? Why are you sorry? Can't you stop it? Can't you not do this? And he says, I tried so many times. And it all leads back to this. And so my thought is this is either one of his attempts to get away from this kind of ultimate, to get away from genocide, or
Sure.
and it's like maybe like, you know, an alternate timeline, or the way I'm interpreting it is this is like maybe one of his attempts, but he's showing Mikasa, and maybe this was like a real attempt in the past, that because and it's a quick flash, and you'll miss it if you don't watch carefully.
Falco flying over the battle scene,
No,
or over the
yeah, that too.
the cabin,
That
because
too.
that makes it seem like it's just her in the moment being shown something.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not what I was going to mention. Is he
Okay.
says, when you told me how you felt, like this is like, and it flashes to her confessing her love to him on a hilltop. When he asked her, "Who am I to you?"
Yes.
and she didn't tell him the truth, and she just said, "Your family." My interpretation is that he's showing her, if you said this, then I would have left everyone for you, and we would have come here, and this would have been our lives, and that's great, but we would not have avoided genocide. Like, think about it, right? It's like Aaron played it out. If they left, what happens? He dies in 4 years, but Marley will crush Eldia, right? Like, they're still fucked. If his goal is to save his friends, then him running away with Mikasa makes that moot. Like, if he runs away with her and has that love for 4 years, everyone else dies.
Sure.
So I don't know if that actually happened and he's just revealing it to her later, but I do think it's noteworthy that like he's never been that guy. We know she didn't confess her love to him unless he like altered her memories, which I guess, you know, he is fucking with memories in general, so that's also a possibility.
That is like the real, like the chicanery of it all, like the you know, that's the thing too, like when we got the reveal of Aaron having this power, they introduced the unreliable narrator
Yeah.
to everything, right? Like we don't know what is and what isn't.
And he doesn't know
like,
how it
but
ends
we do,
either,
but we
which-
don't. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting because he is as confused and in the quagmire as we are as viewers. It's a really cool detail, and it's, you know, it's kind of like when, you know, anytime you open like the time travel box there, like just you know, the, you know, convolution over like it just, you know, it sometimes doesn't always work, but I think they really landed that. Like it seems
Agreed.
pretty cohesive in the moment, like again, but it leaves a lot of interpretation. And
I agree
but,
because
yeah.
sorry, okay, what were you gonna say?
No. I'm just I see that, but I also like I'm still just caught on the fact that like Aaron is like literally behind everyone in the world. Like everyone a part of the past, Aaron played a part in everyone's lives, whether they realized it or not. You know, and push them in one way, just to all get to this point. You know, I feel like they could have ruined the episode by if they had showed a lot of that. You know, like all these people in these moments, but like it just left of like, oh shit, like it was him. You know, the reason Erwin was the way he was. You know?
Yeah.
And they really hit home with Sasha too. Like,
Let's
Sasha,
touch on that
yeah.
though real quick, because I don't remember
Yeah.
anything about Erwin. So where are you getting that?
Well, there's a line. There's like, because Armin alludes to like, you know, like, or sorry, Aaron tells Armin that like, you know, he, out of all the possibilities, you know, and whatnot, and he essentially helped like these moments get there. And there's a line where Levi kind of has like when it's all kind of explained to everyone or whatever, Levi has a moment of like, oh, Erwin, that's why you were the way you were, because like Aaron was behind you to push us to this point. So that's why I'm thinking like all this stuff that we're seeing is Aaron having these moments, and then it's all revealed to everybody at the end. It's when Levi's sitting down and like all of Levi's
like,
squad and Erwin,
yeah,
the ghosts, and like it kind of clicks for Levi of like, oh, like that's
see
why, that's like there's. Because when you think about it, Aaron's probably behind, like the whole heart thing, like give your heart. Aaron's probably the one who pushed that forward to get everyone to this fucking point. It's crazy. Like if you really kind of break it down, you could probably take a lot of it apart. But I don't know. In my head canon of it all, it's
he gave Erwin the push in your head canon.
Everyone, right? Like it's not just Erwin, but like he was like the most notable one. Like why was he so forceful, like take humanity, find the the secrets and all that. He had none of the answers, but he had all the drive to get them, right? It's
right. I also think so. Okay, so that's the Mikasa part. Let's get to the Armin part. I liked all this. So I'm curious. You mentioned like you didn't love the dialogue, and there's certain parts of the dialogue I didn't love. Are you talking about their entire journey through like the Christmas Carol pass, or you mean like that's like a specific scene?
Like the final when they're sitting there in like kind of like the Blood Sea or whatever, in the water. It was kind of like
Is it like the thing that everyone's memeing about, like the incel Aaron thing, where he's super vulnerable and like I want Mikasa to pine after me for like 10 years?
Well, yeah, it was a little cringy, and it felt I think, but I understand what originally Isayama was trying to say, and like what Mappa was trying to propose to us in the anime is like. He had no control, right? Like he's as lost as he ever has been. Like he's never really learned. Like there's no like living for him. It was all just like the machinations and like layer upon layer. Like there's no way for him to be him. So like to have like this genuine, one of the slice moments in his life where he can try and be himself. Like he's just so out of his depth and like doesn't. Can't do anything. I understand and it makes sense. It doesn't make it any less cringy, like what he says and all that. But like, I 100% feel the meaning that was being conveyed. So it's like I can forgive that, and it doesn't bother me because everything else around it is pretty amazing. But
I want to touch on that.
Yeah,
I think you're totally right. we literally interpreted that the exact same way. I think like. Shocker, the internet misses the point, right? But it's like, but think about kind of the version of himself that he showed Mikasa. If you buy what I'm saying about the paths and all that, but think about that, and then the version he chooses to show to Armin, right? Like this very honest and in this moment incredibly vulnerable young man who's kind of just heartbroken, and I think. While the dialogue was a little clumsy in this moment, for sure, like it was their attempt to showcase his vulnerability. This guy is absolutely not a messiah. You know what I mean? No. Like you just like, yes, he's behind perhaps everything, but he's not in control. You know what I mean?
He is as much being pulled by the cart as everyone else.
Yeah, and the conversation of free will comes along, and it's like there is this part of him that is like just fuck, like I just love this girl, and the idea of thinking of her as someone else, like that's shitty. You know what I mean? And I don't want to think about that. And it's like, can we just be kids for a second? And I do think that the transition here saves it a little bit. I don't know if you agree, but they do go from these cringy facial expressions and I want her to pine after me for 10 years and all that, but then they shift the camera and now they're in a pool of blood. And then there's the reveal of I trample 80% of humanity, and then it's like back into serious stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that mostly worked for me. I was like, okay, now we're grounded again. We're not dicking around anymore, and now it's like time for like the final conversation between the two of them. So I thought they saved it mostly.
Mm-hmm. It was also nice too because you and I had a theory back in part 1. Yeah, it would have been part 1 or part 2 when
season
they're back
4,
in
part 1.
Yeah, season 4, part 1. Whenever they're back on Parody Island, and there's that scene in the restaurant, Aaron kind of shows up. And it's kind of like, oh shit, like Aaron's here with Flock and Jaegers. And, you know, there's that throwdown between Armin and Aaron. And Armin's just like, did he have to knee me so hard? And to hear Aaron say was like, I was trying, like, because you and I had the theory of, like, he is trying to distance himself. And I think looking back, that is the biggest moment of, you know, Aaron was putting himself on to be a certain way. But behind the whole scene, like, he was still kind of him. But he had no option. Like, he saw what he saw, and it was the path he had to take to get to the moment where he wanted to. And, to, you know, to Aaron be like, yeah, like, I didn't want to do that. Like, but I had to, you know? So it's really interesting to look back and see Aaron, like, he just, knowing that he was kind of just like a bit of a soulless puppet in season, you know, end of season 3 and season 4, to know that, like, who we're seeing on screen isn't Aaron. That's just, the words being put into his mouth it's strictly just to get to point Z, right?
It's so tragic. It is, you know, sincerely tragic.
He dies the second him and Historia. Like, in my opinion, Aaron dies the second him and Historia made contact in season 3. And
me too.
Everything after that's not him.
And but I think the sadder part of that, or maybe the sadder way of looking at it, is that he's still there, but he can't help it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's maybe the shittiest part. That's like the really bummer part. So that happens, and then are you interested in the dialogue change? Because I am aware of most of it. I've been busy reading.
No, I haven't looked into any of that.
No, but I mean, do you want me to tell you?
Sure, yeah.
You know, so it's, and I'm not gonna do it fucking line by line, right? But the main change, I think a lot of this, like, I trample 80% of humanity, it's predetermined. I think it was all in the manga, or maybe not. But I think the main change was Armin in the manga. And there's even controversy about this, because of course there is, right? About the translation. And the English manga says, Armin has this line basically saying, thank you, and I'm serious, thank you for becoming a mass murderer, even though, like, I disagree, we won't let it go to waste. So it's a tough line. And there's argument about, is it translated properly? Who knows? And what it sounds like they added and fixed about it was Armin wanted to be culpable alongside Aaron. He's like, I put those ideas in your head, and I'm nowhere near innocent. And he's not, right?
No.
He might be the most wholesome person on the show, but he's also not innocent at this point either, right? His hands are very bloody. And, you know, that he pulls the fucking seashell out of the bloodied ocean. I appreciate that. But and then he says that whole, you know, I'll see you soon, and then I'll see you in hell, and we'll be there together, and that is all net new to the anime.
Okay.
It was not in the manga. So interesting, I think. I think that, and then Isayama did this, you know, interview with the New York Times saying, like, Armin wanted to be accountable, so he chose his words very carefully, and I think that, you know, that is what it is. We can interpret it how we want, but I thought it was interesting and worth making note of.
I think it's a good change. Just hearing what it was to what it is.
Yeah, now. I mean, the manga community seems very happy about the change to the dialogue, so I will take it for what it is. God. Yeah, I know.
There's literally like 10 other moments we could just like talk about and break down. But
I know. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Well, in this moment, I'm like not saying I'm unprepared, but I feel like this episode, and maybe we can kind of get into like not nitpicky, but you know, like on just the one thing that I think really sticks out is, and it goes back to just kind of the mess that Mappa made of the release schedule. This was too long. This should not have been 84 minutes because it was not edited to be like a movie. I found it very much felt episodic, and I really think they would have benefited from like breaking this down into like 3 episodes, and just giving us a lot of time. Just give us time, like a week apart, to really take in all these moments. Because like I'm gonna have to watch this like 2 more times because, you know, like I said, I'm not, you know, unprepared, but it's like it's so dense, there's so much, there's so many little things, you know, it's hard to like sit down and do this in an hour, or, you know, hour and change, and like kind of break this down. But what's your take on the ending?
Well, yeah,
because there's a lot of fervor around
so
that.
but yeah, I mean, this is kind of like part of what we're just talking about, and also part of the ending. So I think there's one or two more incredibly juicy, meaty things we have to talk about, and it's Ymir.
Oh yeah.
The Ymir connection.
Oh, okay. Love.
So I love, but also
Yeah.
the Mikasa Ymir connection and the Ymir Eren connection. It's muddy, right? Like we just talked
It's a
about,
little muddy, yeah.
like, and it's complex, and I think I have a good handle on a lot of this stuff, but I don't know if anyone's gonna have a perfect handle on the Ymir stuff specifically. But let's maybe start with, the reveal, like in the paths to Armin, is when Eren says, whatever Ymir was, because Zeke kind of tees it up first. He says Eren was able to figure out what was pushing Ymir forward. I don't know what it is. And then Eren reveals to Armin that it was love, right? And we'll come back to that in a second. But he also says, but whatever future we are hurtling towards, and Eren, I want to make note here, doesn't seem to know. But he says, the person who changed everything, that set us on this path, is Mikasa. And then it's like, wait, what? There's like this, Armin has like this wait, what moment. Eren says like, oh, so you weren't listening.
Yeah.
So I think that Eren has been quote, moving forward on the path that Ymir has kind of envisioned, right? And she has the same strength / problem that Eren has, and that time is simultaneous to her.
Sure.
And I think that the net, or the bottom line, or the brass tacks, or pick a corporate nomenclature, is that she knew she would be set free. And I am reaching here, but stick with me. I think she knew that she would be set free when Mikasa killed Eren, because her fatal flaw was that she could not let go of her like fatal flaw, or her love for King Fritz, right? Mm-hmm. One thing that is for sure, because they say it, is that her love bound her to him, and that's why she was stuck. She couldn't let go of it. And I'm guessing here that, or at least my interpretation is that, seeing Mikasa kill the man she loved, and like also not forsake that love, was the answer. And in seeing her do that, she was like, oh, like I can let go. Mikasa brings an end to this whole weird founding thing, this relationship that Ymir and Eren now have, that kind of have them joined at the hip, because Eren has the power of the founder. He's omniscient the way she is. And I think like there's like a parallel there, right? Between this complicated, fucked up, toxic love that Mikasa has for Eren, and whatever the fuck you want to say Ymir had for King Fritz. We're going to have to get to that in a second. But you know what I mean? Like, do you get where I'm coming from?
100%. That's how I understood the whole love thing, like, it's funny, in another Mappa show, like, this is like Jujutsu Kaisen 0, like, love is as much of a curse as anything else, right? So I think that was like a good jump. In the moment, I was like, oh, I think that's what they're kind of going for, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just kind of rolled with it, like, because, I think it was the point of, like, Mikasa being able to let go.
Yeah.
Like you said, let go, but still care for Eren, love Eren, and whatnot. Like I said, it's one of those things where what could they have really done to explain it better? I don't think there's much to do, but at the same time, it's like, no, you just kind of got to take it at face value. But like, that's really all there is to do.
Yeah.
Like, in what way could they have like cleared that up?
Yeah, and I think it's telling that Ymir probably knew what was going to happen, but kept that from Eren. Like, I think Eren knew that the goal would be achieved by Mikasa, and that he would probably die in the process. But I don't know if he knew she would take his head off personally, because he was very clear to Armin about, I don't know what Mikasa does. And I think it's ending his life, and then thereby kind of ending this weird cycle for Ymir.
Well, he wouldn't know, because isn't that the whole big thing? The Ackermans aren't affected by the founding, so like there's no insight or
Maybe that too. Yeah, good point.
couldn't see what their actions are.
Yeah, but Ymir, I think knew.
Sure.
I don't know how or why. That part's still muddy, and maybe it's supposed to be. I don't know. I also think, just while we're here with the love thing, before we talk about Ymir loving Fritz, I also think it's noteworthy that, Eren says more than once. I actually have a cool detail about this. He says in the past to Mikasa, "Forget about me. Throw this scarf away after I'm dead." You know what I mean? And again, noteworthy that he cried about that to Armin. He was like, "What? No, I want her to live at least 10 years, remember me."
Mm-hmm.
But when he was with her, he was like, "No, you need to move on."
Yeah.
And when Mikasa comes out of her vision, the last line Eren says to her is, "Please forget about me," or "forget about me." And the first thing she says when she kind of comes to is, "I can't." Right? And he says, "Throw away the scarf, forget about me." And she says, "I can't." And what does she do? She ties the scarf around her face.
Yeah. Tighter. Yeah.
Tighter, right? And I don't know if he told her in the past, but she knew exactly where his Titan was located after that. Or where he was located. She's like, he's obviously in the mouth, right? And it was like, I almost wonder if he told her in some roundabout way so she knew exactly where to end it. You know what I mean? I don't know. But no one knew where he was. He's, you would expect him to be in the nape. He's a colossal Titan now.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows, no, shortcut, go to the mouth right away. And he's just sitting pretty waiting. Is there anything? Oh yeah, the scarf.
Have you ever, this is gonna, as I'm thinking about it now, it seems kind of obvious, but the whole, what separates, what does the scarf separate, between your shoulders and your head is the neck, right? So the whole concept of her always taking the scarf from him and always having that wrapped around her neck, maybe it's just a way of it was always going to be her to take his head kind of thing.
Interesting.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know why that just popped in my head.
I would not put it past. There's so many details like this, dude. You want another one?
Hit me.
Season 4, Part 2. That fucking Louise girl that Mikasa saves as a child steals the scarf because Eren told her to try and get her to let fucking go.
Damn, man.
And she doesn't. And I think that's I don't want to get all wishy-washy or mushy here, but I think that the fact that Mikasa was able to end him and still love him, I think, I don't know if that answers anything, but she's buried in it later. And that part got me at the end.
God. Yeah, that was...
Right? She's still wearing the scarf. She might remarry, she might not, but she was fucking buried in it, dude.
Goddamn right. She loved that dude.
Yeah. She wasn't like, "Oh, well, that's that."
No.
Yoink. No.
For the face of the world together. Doesn't matter who lived it.
Yeah.
Out of the two of them. But they did that together. So. Fuck.
Okay, I think we have to talk about Ymir loving King Fritz.
Yeah, a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah. That was my first inkling, too. What do you...
Yeah.
Okay, tell me if we agree on this.
Okay.
Because it seems the fan base is divided on this, right? Stockholm Syndrome is, I think, one of the very popular takes. And I don't think it's a bad take either, for the record. I have it myself. But in the moment, did it work for you? Or did you go, eh?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's not... As a story beat, it is not something that kind of broke or won me over either.
Yeah.
I don't think it broke the story, but I don't think it necessarily aids anymore. It all feels kind of... If there's the one thing, it just felt this is it. And it's oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're moving the story forward.
3.6 Rotkin, not great, not terrible.
Yeah, but it's... I don't know. It's I see it, and not even I think maybe Stockholm Syndrome's kind of underselling what's happening at play.
Yeah.
But the what did she have, right? That was all in her world. That was her immediate surroundings. He had, she was given children from him, even though at that point I guess she would have eaten them. No.
No, they ate her. Remember?
or they ate her rather. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but I don't know. Like she was also a child when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like there's not. I don't know. It's
No. Yeah.
yeah, makes sense, but like I'm not thinking about it too much. It's not like the crux of
That's the thing,
the way
right?
this kind of meant everything.
It is sold to be like a big reveal. That's like I think why some people are up in arms about
Stuck
it.
on it. Yeah.
I think okay, maybe here's another question for you. And this is maybe the bigger one is, do you think they could have done better with the time and the dialogue that they had? Could they have painted it to be more, to make it click better, to be more sellable to the audience?
100%. I think if they were going to, and this just goes back to where I think they should have spread this out a little more. If for a reveal, anything with Ymir, I think they should have put as much attention to as they did in part 2, where we had like that huge Ymir war bomb, right?
Yeah, I
where
agree.
we had almost like 10 of the 24 minutes was dedicated to Ymir opening the it was opening the episode. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was the beginning of the episode. They should have done that and kind of wrapped her up a little more. She kind of felt like a background dressing this whole finale. Like she was around, like there were references to her, but like it was kind of like oh there she is, and like we kind of moved on to the next thing.
You can see,
yeah.
Sorry, you can see what he's trying to do, right? Like you can see
Yeah.
that he's trying to use Ymir as like this really sparse seasoning. Like, she is this mysterious character. She is the root of it all, after all. So like they want to use her lightly. But in this case, it's like, fuck, we could have done with a little bit more,
She should have been front and center for portions of this for sure. But no, definitely seasoning, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because this is meant to be a big reveal, and it almost sounds like an 11th hour revelation, like an 11th hour. It's this surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's tricky. I will give my take on this, but I think the problem with most takes on Ymir loving Fritz is that it's gonna feel like I'm stretching it, because I am. You know what I mean? Like you have to really look closely to try and find this, and that's the problem, because the show just doesn't give you a ton to work with. But my take is, bits of Stockholm Syndrome for sure, right? And I don't know exactly what he's trying to say about love here, because there is a message, and Mikasa loving Eren but being able to save him / end him to bring all this to an end is also interesting. I think maybe I told you I'm reaching, especially in the case of Ymir. I think he's trying to say that love is complex, it's ugly, at times irrational, sometimes nonsensical. It's complicated, and it's often the root of conflict and the way out of conflict. And in this case, love definitely did end some insane cycles that were kind of filled with hate, right?
Sure.
It ended, we can talk about human nature and like what the show has to say about that in the post credits, but it does end a 2,000 year long cycle of Titan domination, right? She is able to let go when Eren is able to let go, right? And both of those two people were in these really weird, loving, fucked up relationships, you know what I mean? And it's like I guess you can make I think you can maybe make the case that because Mikasa loved Eren so much, she was able to set him free, and in so doing set Ymir free. But you have to really want to see it.
Yeah.
But that's my attempt, and it is a little clumsy, but it absolutely does not ruin the scene, the ending for me.
No.
I think it's like a bit of a speed bump. You're like, they maybe could have handled that better, but like maybe let's see how it ages, on rewatch and all that stuff.
Another problem with not the episode, but I think a casualty within the episode is it was so breakneck speed the entire 84 minutes, and then they get to a moment like this, and it is almost like kind of like a blink and you miss it moment.
Yeah.
Not enough time is put to it. It's very like it's all said. You have like a moment of breathing, and then it's on to the next thing. There was no like reflection of the moment as it was said, right? And I think there's a couple moments in this episode where, you know, like it was 84 minutes. Like, could we not get like 6 more minutes? You know, like just to pad some of these scenes. Because it was just like, it was just, and on to the next thing, you know, like, you know, we've taken more time to discuss like what was said in that short minute than, you know, it could have reduced our conversation in half. They had taken like an extra, like, you know, 10 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever, and just kind of, you know, breathe, you know. That's my biggest thing is like, you know, do you earn the moment? And it just didn't feel earned. It was just kind of like, there you go, on to the next set piece, you know. It's I think it's just, you know, it's just a casualty of like kind of the formatting and the scheduling and whatnot. But I agree with your theory. I like that.
I think that's well put by you. Like, the timing was just tricky, the pacing was tricky. We could have done with more, but like, I don't know. I'm not upset about it.
No.
Shit, there was one more thing. Okay, I'm thinking, have we missed any? You know, there's one. You know, Ymir, by the way, never speaks a line, right? The whole series. Aaron confirms she had her tongue ripped out, but there is a scene where Mikasa confronts adult Ymir. It's the first time we see her not in a flashback, right? And I don't have the dialogue in front of me, but she says, "I think your love was like a long nightmare." And there's a flash, and it's a blink and you'll miss it thing, but I don't think this is in the past. I don't know what they're trying to do here. I don't think it's a past thing. I don't know what it is, but there's a flash of, do you remember how Ymir died? She took the spear for Fritz?
Yes, yeah.
There's a image or a scene of, and it's just a black background, but it's Ymir hugging her 3 daughters, and King Fritz is the one who's dead on the throne with a spear through him. And my take is like, is that regret? Like, should she have not died for him? Like, did she maybe realize, like, I may have died for this man that I thought I loved, and maybe I shouldn't have. I would have had my daughters. Or is it like, I don't know, but like they showed that frame, you know? And I don't know what they're trying to say, or maybe she's finally free and she can be with them, and that's how she's feeling. I don't know what they're trying to say there, but I thought it was noteworthy.
Yeah, it could be, like I said, because the path kind of seemed to be, you know, because we have these moments, you know, because both her and Aaron are, you know, they see the past and the present, or past and the future all at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it could be also just she is seeing the variations, you know, she can now picture, you know, because she let go, she can also picture what could have been, you know, and maybe that eases the situation. I don't know. It's, like I said, it's, you know, like the timey-wimey stuff there is just kind of, you know, it's like a Pandora's box of like, what if, like, you know, like it's, you know, when it's great, but it's when you have like kind of, it's very much like unanswerable questions in like little stuff like that. It's, let's get Isayama straight up, you know, coming out and saying exactly what that meant. I'm not 100% sure, but
he answered some direct questions in that New York Times interview, but like, you know, not nitty gritty stuff like this.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Whew, God, man. Maybe, do you want a few like fun ones before we can go into, you know, we talked about the manga change. Maybe we can end on, you know, after this we can briefly talk about kind of the internet's reaction. But do you want like a couple cool little callbacks that I found?
Let's do it.
Okay, a couple are a reach here, but bear with me. While holding back the hallucigenia, like the weird parasite thing, the giant parasite thing, you know, everybody's working to hold it back. It's Annie, it's Reiner. By the way, maybe I'm just curious about this. I really do think it's so interesting that Reiner survived.
Yeah, my boy.
I'm curious what you think about that. We didn't talk about it, because if there was a hero's death, it was holding that fucking thing down when the bomb went off.
Yeah.
You know, he's never been more like steadfast and sure. And if there was a moment to go out like a hero, I think that was it. And he didn't. And you know, not only that, he's not a Titan Shifter anymore. So, like, what did you think of that?
Well, finally some peace for him. You know, he got his mother's love, which is, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's what we all want. Yeah. But, you know, like, it's funny because every time he was willing, you know, Reiner was an interesting kind of take on plot armor, right? Because funny enough, he was the armor titan, but like anytime he was so willing to die at so many points, and like it just always like he just wouldn't die, and he wanted to so bad, and I thought it was such a fun bait and switch that when he was like steadfast of like, you know, I want to live, I want to save everyone.
Yeah,
it's like the closest he comes to like going out, you know, and so. Having like, you know, like a final kind of like a true like kind of not comeuppance, but like a self-redemption moment, you know, it was just kind of nice. It was like, oh, like good for you, Reiner, like you deserve it. Like damn, dude, like how many times you almost blown your fucking head off, you know, like it's but
truly
underrated, one of the most underrated characters in the show. Like I would die on that hill. It's crazy how good a character he is. So well written.
Truly a cursed character, like
man.
a cursed existence rather.
Yeah.
The line he says when he's holding it down, I just thought this was great because there's a lot about, you know, this cruel world. There's a lot of stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Dialogue wise, and Eren says it, Bertholdt says it, a lot of these people say it, and I thought this was a specific callback. I could be wrong, I could be reaching, but he's holding this thing down and he says, when will our torment end? Like, this is, you know, moments before Mikasa ends it, and everyone's straining, and it's the final battle, and, you know, they're all kind of in pieces. And when will our torment end? I just thought that was like a really good line, because in his fight with Eren in season 4 part God knows what, he at one point is saying to himself, but also to Eren, though Eren can't hear him because they're in Titans. He said, like we've suffered enough.
Yeah.
You've suffered enough. Let it end. And it's like, it's still not over until I say it's over, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's about to be over finally, but like, Reiner's still just out here fighting the good fight. Like, for the love of God, let it be over. And it's, I just felt for the dude in that moment.
Yeah.
Fun detail on Eren, you know, the reveal you mentioned earlier, like, you know, erasing his friend's memories.
Yeah.
You know, just for the record, in case, you know, anyone was trying to call retcon on that, there's precedent, right? In season 3, Historia's relative, forget that girl's name. She had the founder, the one Grisha eats.
Oh yes, yeah.
We see her throughout season 3 in flashbacks erasing Historia's memory with the power of the founder.
Yes.
Just to cement further, there is precedent for that. It's absolutely a thing he can do. I don't know. I thought that was noteworthy. A really great line callback. Those who can't change anything, or those who can't abandon anything, can't change anything. Armin says this.
Such a classic Armin line. Like,
and he says this about Eren at the end of season 1. At the end of season 1, and my God, did Eren ever abandon some shit? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And also in season 1, maybe even the same episode or the episode prior. Especially now that we know Eren's, you know, the moment he got the founder, the way time existed in his head, you know, sending, you know, that Titan towards his mother, etc. Like, he says in season 1, this is on our Instagram, I will destroy the entire world, like fucking verbatim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also makes me wonder, in season 2, I wonder if this takes a double meaning, or if I'm reaching. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of these surface now that the show's over. Season 2, one of the best seasons and one of the best scenes ever is when he fails to transform to kill the Smiling Titan, and he watches it eat his boy. Remember that guy's name? It was the military police who... Was that?
I was going to say Marco, but it's not Marco.
No, it's... I can't remember the guy's name. But you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the guy who saved him as a boy.
Yeah. Oh, shit. H. It's definitely something with H. Hemel?
Smiling Titan kills S2.
Can I just say, for the record, Daylight Saving Times fucking sucks.
Yeah, dude.
It's oh, it's so late.
Yeah. Sorry. Are you good? We're almost done. I swear.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Aaron says to himself, nothing changed at all. You're still as useless as ever. And it just made me wonder, like, was Aaron trying to change things even back then? Or is it like the surface level line that we think it is? And it's just like he's just mad that he can't change anything in this moment. He can't help his friend. That's probably what it is. But, it's noteworthy.
I think Aaron had every hand in the cookie jar. Like, yeah. I don't think anyone's lives was not touched by him.
Yeah. Couple more. Jean calling Aaron a suicidal dumbass when he detonates the TNT.
Word.
He's been calling Aaron that for several seasons.
Ever. Yeah.
Even the line delivery is similar. When Mikasa tries to save Aaron in season 1 against the female Titan, she's screaming at Annie, cutting her to shreds, saying, "Give Aaron back." Even the line delivery is similar. While she cuts up the Okapi to save Armin, she says, "Give Armin back."
Oh.
Okay.
I like that.
One of the last ones, I think this is maybe the last one, and I can't believe I missed it on my first viewing. And I think this is a deep one, Grant. Do you remember in the Ymir episode, she's blamed for, they lost pigs, and so they ripped out her tongue because she was a slave. Mm-hmm. And the adults all blamed her, and it was like, Jesus Christ, like, this is cruel.
Yeah.
She let those fuckers go. It was her. She did it on purpose. They show in the first couple minutes of the special a child Ymir going into the pig pen, looking at them all, and opening the door. And in
this special?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think she was just like Aaron. She was a rebellious little shit. And I think she knew it would maybe be right, because the pigs would have been eaten, and she lets them all go. She was not needlessly blamed. She was not... I mean, now granted, I don't think she had it coming to...
I don't think the punishment fit the crime.
Yeah. I think they may have overcorrected a slight bit, but she wasn't blamed for no reason by all these grown people. She let them go. And it really makes me think of Kid Aaron.
Wow.
Solid, eh?
Damn. What a thinker. What a thinker of a show.
Yeah, dude.
All time.
God, I think that's it. I mean,
we could do a part 2 in like a couple months and be like, all right, we watched this 3 times. What did we miss? But another thing I thought was interesting, and it's funny because we spent so much time away from them, or from the island, is just the Jaegerists took full control, became the government.
The ending.
It's one of those things I had assumed that the Jaegerists were all... like thinking back on it now, that was like a silly thought, but like
I had the same thought.
Didn't go chasing, but like obviously the people were left there, and the ideology kind of came to fruit or turned into something else. But
and they had military control when the scouts left. The scouts were eradicated, right?
Yes, yeah. Did you feel like we got kind of shirked on the Historia stuff? Like the red herring that was her being pregnant?
Yeah, for sure. I also thought, I'm curious if you thought about this fake out. When the bomb goes off, when Armin detonates, we get a flash of Historia giving birth.
Yes.
And I was like, do not tell me that killed Aaron, and now the founding titan goes to that baby. I will lose my fucking shit.
For a split second, I thought that was going to happen.
And then, and I was going to be like, oh, Christ, is it his kid? But no, it wasn't. I mean, who knows? I doubt it. But like,
no, I don't think
because they show kind of like a faceless husband, and like
they did last time.
But at red herring, I think that was literally just meant to fuck with us.
Yeah, awesome. Well played to see him.
He didn't do a lot of that. There weren't a lot of false trails, so I'll just give him a W.
Yeah. When it comes off like that, and you can look back and you can laugh on it, it's like, oh, like well played, like good placement on your part.
Yeah.
But it's not like it was the frustrating of like, well, what was it? It was just kind of like, oh, it's you played me, like it was intentional. But
okay, so the ending, the world ending, we need to mention that. So Aaron kind of finds a middle ground. I mean, it's still genocide. I think it's technically omnicide.
Oh.
Because he eradicates more than one people, right? He
Oh, okay.
eradicates several
Oh, I see what you're saying.
ethnicities, 80% of humanity. He does kind of thread the needle and find. Hear me out. As omnicides go, he does accomplish what he set out to do, right?
Yeah.
He ensures that his friends live long and happy lives, and they do. He ensures there is not a one-sided war of reprisal in response to the rumbling, because what's left of civilization is about the same level of technology that Parody now has.
Mm-hmm.
Call that what you will, but he ensured their safety. I don't know, mission accomplished, I guess. But I think they also show that, like, and I appreciated this. They also show that, like, to your point, the military police seize control. They continue to spout his kind of misguided ideals.
Yeah, rhetoric.
His rhetoric. They're kind of a Jaegerist nation, go figure, kind of parroting all the shit that he would say. And conflict doesn't, like, magically cease either, right? Immediately after his death, Mikasa has the great point of, like, I mean, I gotta hide his fucking head somewhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he won't be allowed a burial. Also, sidebar before we keep going, what'd you think of the headless kiss?
Yeah, like, get your man.
Fair enough, right? At the very least, powerful imagery.
Yeah.
And
Spoil on a shirt.
what?
You see that? That was on, like, one of the Uniqlo shirts.
The headless kiss was on the shirt?
I'm pretty sure that's what Leanna was telling me.
Oh,
unless I misunderstood what she said, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so I think you missed it. I don't think that was on the shirt. I think
Okay.
she saw. It's the same, actually. It's the manga panel I saw that spoiled it. It's Mikasa's face as she goes in for the kill.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, same scene.
But it's the same scene.
Yeah, same
but it's
scene.
like, I
Gotcha.
wonder what she's about to do. Like, the animation, the drawing of her is so good, and they animated it so well. The emotion on her face, it's like she's got to be doing one thing here, dude.
Yeah.
She's killing somebody she loves.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wonder who,
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, the kiss. I don't know. It was like it was, morbid, but it was sweet. Like she, she couldn't admit it to him in person, like whether it was admitted to each other in the past or whatnot. But she loved him, and I don't know. It's fucked up, but it was beautiful at the same time. I got emotional at that scene too. I felt so sorry for everybody in that scene.
Me too. I think what really got me, my guy, was like the Eren death, and then everything in the paths, and the line reading Eren's voice actor gave when he is kind of losing control to Armin. So when he says, "My head is so messed up," and he gives the reveal that he's the one who sent the Titan toward his mother. Like the voice actor's he's on the verge of tears there, and I was like, oh my god.
There was a moment too in the past where it was kind of like when they're explaining that the Zeke and Armin had freed all the previous Titan shifters, and there's kind of like a scene of like not like semi apologies going to people, but there's a shot of Zeke and Grisha, and Grisha is giving like a very solemn, like, just it was like finally, like, I can spend a moment with you.
Yeah.
With Zeke, and I was like, damn, man. I mean, like, that kind of got me too.
We also,
it was like very quick, but
we also didn't mention Zeke's death.
Yeah, over and out.
I mean, great death. Also, just while we're here, I mean, we have to mention Levi. I think he got his closure, and I think that it's unfortunately fitting that, like, he was this war machine that now has to, is probably in a wheelchair, and
I think they show him in a wheelchair in the.
I think he fucked up his leg in that last sequence too. You kind of see
he gets bitten by a Titan.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he lost an eye, fingers. He's pretty beat up, but he accomplished what he wanted to.
Yeah, he got his man.
He got his man. We talk about conflict not ending. Like, again, it doesn't magically solve everything, but there is one last tip of the cap, and this, I think, is the last cool detail I've got. If you think about it, and I think I'm right here. following Aaron's death, there is this weird face-off, right, with the remaining Eldians who no longer have Titan powers and the armed Marleyans.
Yeah. Oh, that was scary.
And it's like, oh, for the love of God, like, you know, because we had like a false gunshot at one moment, and you know, they kind of came together, and it was like, please, like, not now. And again, there's a huge amount of commentary in the post credits, which we will get to in 10 seconds, about like just like the inevitability of conflict. But I think Armin taking credit for Aaron's death makes him a modern day Helos in a way. Do you remember the?
Well, they make a reference when
In the paths.
in the past, him and Aaron are talking, and he straight up says, like, yeah, like, you know, I got the idea from Willie Tiber, you know, like, he just, you know, that's kind of, it was interesting to hear that out loud, because, like, when you think about it, if Aaron, and that's where, like, you know, the time travel stuff kind of flips on itself and works in weird ways, but, you know, would he, you know, because obviously that happened before he saw the founding and before he went back, is like, which one led to each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, did he also replicate the Willie or the Helos situation way back when to get that to be a thing that he sees in the present, and then, you know, kind of gets that play? It's kind of like, it's Ouroboros, right? It's like over and over eating itself.
I think Aaron's loop is only his birth, or only, yeah, I think it's only his birth.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh,
But
yeah,
that-
I guess.
but
I guess
that's
that
me.
makes sense.
But
Yeah.
I think Ymir, I don't know how many strings she's pulling, if any, but I think she saw Aaron as the vessel to get to Mikasa's goal.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, but again, we can't go down this road. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, all nice.
But I think so anyway. Again, we need more. Okay, so the ending, yeah. They are all modern day heroes. Mission accomplished for Aaron. And then let's end on the credits. What'd you think of that credit sequence?
Oh, incredibly fitting.
Yeah.
It's so funny because this is where I think this is like the biggest point of contention online right now. And it's so glaringly, it's crazy to me that people just aren't, like, did anyone else not watch like all 4 seasons of the show?
Yeah.
Like,
and
like the number one slogan, I think, you know, you and I have said, and just about every other, you know, competent viewer and reader is like, you know, violence nets violence. History will repeat itself. You know, like, it's because there's a line, you know, of like, there's a line in the show. They reference it again in this season. Of there's going to continue to be violence until there's only one person left.
Yeah.
Is that a line, or Zeke says that?
Something along those lines, yeah.
You know, and like we get that tease of, like, you know, someone finding the tree and whatnot, you know, where Aaron's buried, and like, oh, it's going to happen again, which I don't think it necessarily does.
Me either.
Because Aaron's not the parasite, right?
And
there's been some separation,
and
but
it's gone. Yeah, like
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to hear, like, how many civilizations have lived on this planet over, like, every other 2,000-3,000 years. They get wiped out, and, you know, fresh slate, and over and over. It's, you know, it's a fun thought experiment. It's interesting, but, like, again, I don't think that's what it is, because, you know, Aaron is just there, and, you know, his, you know, however 1,000-year-old body is there.
Yeah.
Not, you know,
I think. Yeah, if you're, all right, I don't want to insult the audience either, but
it is crazy, like, what is going on online right now. Like,
That's the thing.
it's borderline comical. Like,
if you, okay, now maybe I will insult the audience. If you think this post-credit scene is a way to tee up Attack on Titan 2, you're dumb as shit. And while I'm at it, you little shits, if you think Aaron turned into a fucking dove, into a bird, you're also dumb as shit. Like, they use birds as a symbol for freedom throughout the entire show. They show empty bird cages while talking about freedom. They show bird cages. They show birds in the sky while talking about freedom. It could not be more straightforward. Yeah. Like, this is one of the few things I'm very confident it's not Aaron as a bird. I promise. Yeah. And yeah, like, the idea that, like, no, they're not saying the whole thing's gonna fucking happen over again. That, like, to your point, the idea is that while humanity's around, we're gonna do shit. But Aaron accomplished his mission. We saw confirmation Mikasa lived to be an old woman. We saw. She was buried in the scarf. We saw her wrinkled old hands, probably buried next to him. You know what I mean? Like, we saw. We know. We see time pass. We see them all get older as they visit him. He did the right thing, and like when they're gone though, and even independent of his friends that he saved, humanity gonna humanity, right?
Yeah.
And while we're here, we're waging wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy. It's I've been shaking my head all weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I guess past couple days since I watched it.
Yeah.
The amount of people just saying like, well, what was the point? It's like, what do you mean? What was the point?
What do you mean? Exactly. Like,
it's crazy to me, Dave.
If you ask what was the
trolling.
point,
I borderline think it has to be trolling.
Yeah.
Because.
But it's also like if you're asking what was the point, spoiler alert, you missed it. Like,
flew right over it like that dove.
Yeah, dude. Like, holy, I don't know. Go watch the baseball scene with Zeke. I guess I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm also, and this isn't like, oh, we're big brained. It's like, just watch it.
Yeah, it's
stay off the forums.
Messaging. It's been the messaging from day one.
Yeah,
like it's,
and yeah, like, yeah, stay. Don't let the internet and like people tell you what this is about either. You know what I mean? Like, Grant and I are here. These are our takes. We're not perfectly in sync, and our feelings on it may change. But like, yeah, like the manga readers poisoning the well on this, like that. I don't think it worked out well for them. I hate to say it, but it's like, I saw a lot of really funny posts about like, this is what y'all were upset about. It's like, it's and I'm sure the anime ending was better, but yeah, I don't want to talk in circles. Is there anything we left out, my friend?
Weird hill to die on. No, I don't. Like I said, I'm sure there's tons we left out. But like I said, it was so dense and so long, and I would really like to, maybe in a year and a half's time, we come back, we do revisit a series rewatching, get full notes and really jot down everything we see along the way and share notes. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, man.
Down the line.
Me too. Yeah, I don't know how to cap it. This has been a journey. Like, I sincere, and it's so hard to feel this way. I know you're gonna know what I'm talking about because you're on it with me. When you watch the amount of stuff that we watch, and don't get me wrong, we watch stuff because we love it. Mm-hmm. But it does at times get a little derivative. It does at times get a little taxing, and like sometimes it's like, it can be tricky to know when you're watching something special because you're so in the moment. And I sometimes feel like I'm watching things like trying to think about what I'll say on the podcast for them.
Sure.
And you can get a little outside of your body and you can enjoy things a little bit less. Mm. I sincerely, I know I just watched something special that will stick with me for an incredibly long time. This was like one of the best things I have ever seen. The experience of watching it all these years, and especially with you breaking it down week by week, my guy, like,
absolute blast.
I would not trade it for any other show. I had a fucking blast talking about this. I don't even know how many hours we've spent dissecting it. Longer
than each episode.
Yeah, and then all the hours, and then the rewatch value, and all this, and what it's taught me about storytelling, and the exercise that he's brought us along on. I don't know, man. I couldn't be happier. I'm
some most tragic characters, like characters I'll never forget about, storylines, twists. There's very few shows where, it's not like, you seek out shows just to find a twist or whatever, but like when you do find that show and it like over and over and over continues to zig and zag in healthy and like realistic narrative, like in the setting of the world, like everything still feels on brand. That's so rare in a show, and this was like a true roller coaster. Like it was, you never knew it was coming. It was always a surprise. You never knew when the next bend was, and I think right up until the very end they continued. Like I think the mission statement stayed true. Right to the very end. So
yeah. And now I think we're greenlit for the Attack on Titan tattoos. So now we get to... Now we got to think about that, dude.
We were worried, eh? We needed to make sure the fucking...
I'm not kidding. I would not have... absolutely not. If they... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they didn't stick this landing, no, you're out. I'm sorry. But now we can do it, dude. Just a large Eren Yeager... I don't know. But giant back piece. Just photorealistic portrait. No, I'm kidding. Can you imagine?
You get what we should do is each a back piece. Like I get one of us gets Aaron's head,
Yeah.
the other one gets Mikasa.
Yeah, dude.
We
Oh,
sit
fuck.
like-
Yeah, man. I'm taking a little break from tattoos, but there's a good chance there's an Aaron, maybe like that child pick. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be, but there's a chance.
There's something. Gotta get something.
Yeah, God, commemorate the show's the decade. Okay, I think that's it, my friend.
Yes, sir.
If we're good, I'm good. Shouts out to the comic book shop, continuing to support us so we could talk about anime for 90 straight minutes. Shouts out to the listeners if you've been listening since day one. I know there are a couple of you, which is crazy that, from our first episode to here. But what a journey. We will be back probably, but tune in next week to see. But if not, it has been a journey. This is probably the end of the Attack on Titan one, at least for now. So thank you so much for listening. We will see you maybe in the future. Grant, go ahead, say the thing.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.